Today I'm going to share my thoughts on the Parker Sonnet after having used it as a daily writer for the past few months, and thus allowing it to prove itself to me. As a daily writer, it's behaved pretty well, so during the course of this video I'll discuss the pen's strong points from my point of view as well as one or two of its weak points. I'm going to start off by weighing the pen and comparing its mass to that of the Karen. So the Sonnet weighs in at 27 grams. Let's see how this compares to the Karen. The Karen weighs in at 34 grams, so it's slightly heavier than the Sonnet. So how does this pen perform? I would say pretty well, but one thing you must note, just like with the Karen, is that the section must be well saturated with ink at all times, as the pen's performance definitely tends to deteriorate when the section dries out. When writing with this pen, I have found the nib to have a reasonable degree of flex. However, this hasn't equated to much in terms of a variation in line thickness. Another interesting thing to note is that the nib does tend to have quite a bit of friction with the page. So if you compare it to a pen such as the Karen, it definitely doesn't feel quite as smooth. However, for those who like more feedback from a pen in terms of friction with the page, this is definitely a pen for you. I'm now quickly checking the pen's ink delivery under its own weight, and I will then compare this performance directly with that of the Waterman Karen. So how does the Karen compare? When writing with the Karen, I definitely feel that the nib has little to no flex when compared to that of the Sonnet. It does, however, feel a bit smoother when it comes to friction, so it's a lot smoother in terms of its interaction with the page. However, that may or may not be a good thing depending on your preferences. Another thing to note is that the Karen is a far less generous pen when it comes to the amount of ink that it delivers to the page. Here's a direct comparison, and just take note that both of these pens have medium nibs fitted. Now onto the Sonnet's weak points, of which there are two main weak points in my opinion. Firstly, the breather hole on the top of the cap is a bit on the large side, causing this pen to dry out rather quickly when compared to other pens, so therefore it has to be inked rather regularly. However, this can be fixed rather easily by plugging this hole. And I haven't plugged my pen's breather hole yet, so I will probably end up by covering this in another video. The second weakness that I found is that the ring just above the nib does tend to corrode. So the gold plating on this ring has come off a bit on my pen. However, the underlying material isn't a type of material which does corrode, so the pen should still hold. It's just a little bit of a cosmetic problem there, however. And this is because of the way this little ring interacts with the inner lining of the cap. So what are my final thoughts on this pen? I would say it's a pretty nice little pen and a rather beautiful pen to look at. And after giving it a bit of a chance to prove itself, I found that it has been a rather delightful pen to use on a daily basis. So these are my thoughts on the Parker Sonnet. I hope you enjoyed the video, and thanks very much for watching.